Welcome back to the Crime Decoder, where we uncover the truth behind real-life crime stories. Today we're diving deep into a case that's as heartbreaking as it is infuriating. A case that not only took a young woman's life, but also exposed glaring flaws in the justice system. This is the story of Reagan Tokes, a vibrant 21-year-old whose dreams of graduating from the Ohio State University were stolen in the most brutal way. Reagan Delaney Tokes was born on March 13, 1995, in Edgewood, Kentucky, a quiet town where she grew up in a tight-knit Christian family. From a young age, Reagan was a force of nature, energetic, compassionate, and fiercely determined. At Anthony Wayne High School, she was a star athlete, competing in lacrosse and tennis, and a top student, graduating with honors. Her warmth and kindness were infectious. Her mother, Lisa, often described her as a big ball of energy, who could brighten any room. Reagan had a special love for animals, often volunteering at local shelters, and her caring nature extended to everyone she met. Her academic prowess earned her a spot at the Ohio State University, her dream school, where she pursued a psychology degree with plans to make a difference in people's lives. By early 2017, Reagan was a senior, just 3 months away from walking across the stage at graduation. She had already secured her first major job, a milestone she was thrilled about. When her parents, Lisa and Toby, and her younger sister Mackenzie, relocated to Parkland, Florida for work, Reagan chose to stay in Columbus to finish her degree. She lived in a cozy off-campus apartment with 4 roommates, short walk from campus, and worked part-time at Bodega, a trendy bar and restaurant in downtown Columbus, to cover her tuition and living expenses. Despite her bright future, Reagan faced personal challenges. She had recently ended a years-long relationship with her high school sweetheart, Jacob, known as Jake. The two had been inseparable, often seen as the perfect couple by friends and family. But as seniors, the pressures of college and their diverging paths led them to part ways amicably to focus on their studies. The breakup was tough for Reagan. Though she kept in touch with Jake as friends, her roommates noticed she was struggling emotionally even if she tried to hide it. Determined to stay strong, Reagan threw herself into her classes, work, and graduation preparations, refusing to let her heartache define her. On February 8, 2017, Reagan followed her usual routine. She slipped into her Bodega uniform, a black shirt and jeans, and headed to her evening shift at the bustling restaurant in Columbus's Short North District. The area was lively, filled with bars and eateries, but the street behind Bodega, where employees parked, was poorly lit and known for occasional crime. Reagan finished her shift around 9:45 p.m., said goodbye to her coworkers, and got into her 1999 silver Acura to drive home. Living over 1,000 miles away in Florida, Reagan's parents relied on her regular updates to know she was safe. She was diligent about texting her family, often sharing small details about her day. That evening, she'd been messaging her dad, Toby, about her shift and plans for the week. But after leaving Bodega, her texts stopped abruptly. Toby and Mackenzie called and texted repeatedly, but Reagan didn't respond, a stark contrast to her usual reliability. By the morning of February 9th, their worry turned to dread. Reagan's roommates were equally alarmed. Her bedroom was untouched, with her backpack and school supplies still there, indicating she hadn't gone to class. They called Bodega, where the manager confirmed Reagan had completed her shift and left without any issues. With no sign of her, her roommates filed a missing person report with the Columbus Police Department and took to social media, posting Reagan's photo and details of her disappearance, hoping someone had seen her. Around the same time, a man walking through Scioto Grove Metro Park, a scenic but secluded park about 10 miles from downtown Columbus, stumbled upon a chilling sight. In a grassy field near a trail, he spotted what he initially thought was a mannequin. As he approached, he realized it was the body of a young woman, partially undressed, with 2 gunshot wounds to the head. Shaken, he called 911, describing the scene as a crime scene, and urging police to respond immediately. Detectives arrived quickly and suspected the body could be Reagan's. Given the timing of her disappearance and the proximity to her workplace, the victim was cold to the touch, indicating she had been dead for several hours. A unique necklace, a delicate chain with a small cross pendant, and a circular tattoo on her wrist caught their attention. To confirm her identity, police contacted Reagan's uncle, who lived in the Columbus area. The moment he saw the body, he broke down, recognizing the necklace and tattoo instantly. It was Reagan. The police then faced the agonizing task of calling her parents and sister in Florida to deliver the devastating news. Reagan Tokes, just 21 years old, had been murdered. Reagan's disappearance was now a full-blown homicide investigation. The autopsy painted a grim picture. Reagan had been shot at point-blank range in an execution-style killing and had been sexually assaulted before her death. The brutality of the crime shocked investigators and left Reagan's family grappling with unimaginable grief. How could someone so full of life be taken so cruelly? Detectives explored multiple angles. Was this a random act of violence in a city plagued by recent robberies? Targeted attack by someone Reagan knew? Or the work of a serial predator? Columbus had seen a wave of robberies and assaults in dimly lit areas, often targeting women alone at night. The street behind Bodega, where Reagan parked her car, was a known trouble spot, with poor lighting and little foot traffic after dark. One of the first people questioned was Jake, Reagan's ex-boyfriend. The recent breakup and Reagan's emotional distress made him a natural person of interest. Detectives brought him in for a lengthy interrogation, asking about his whereabouts on February 8th and his relationship with Reagan. Jake was cooperative, visibly devastated by her death, and provided a solid alibi. He was at a study group with classmates, verified by multiple witnesses. Reagan's roommates vouched for him, insisting that while the breakup was hard, Jake and Reagan remained on good terms, and he would never harm her. With no evidence linking him to the crime, Jake was cleared. The investigation gained traction when police located Reagan's silver Acura, abandoned on Oakwood Avenue in southeast Columbus, about a mile from Scioto Grove Metro Park. The car was in disarray with signs of an attempted arson charge, marks on the upholstery, and a red gas can in the back seat. Scattered across the seats were cigarette butts and several ATM receipts, which caught the detectives' attention. The receipts showed multiple attempts to withdraw money from Reagan's bank accounts, some $400s, though only $60 was successfully withdrawn. The receipts were a goldmine. They listed specific ATMs in Columbus, prompting investigators to pull surveillance footage from those locations. The footage was grainy but revealed a shocking detail. Reagan herself was at the ATM, withdrawing cash from the driver's seat of her car. In the passenger seat was a shadowy figure, and though the image wasn't clear, it appeared Reagan was being coerced. The timestamps showed her driving to multiple ATMs that night, suggesting she was under duress for some time. Meanwhile, forensic analysis of the cigarette butts found in Reagan's car yielded a DNA match to Brian Lee Goldsby, a 29-year-old Columbus resident with a chilling criminal history. Goldsby was a registered Tier 3 sex offender, the highest level requiring lifelong registration. His rap sheet dated back to his childhood, with crimes ranging from theft, shoplifting, and criminal trespassing to far more sinister acts. As a teenager, he had assaulted 2 young children, aged 5 and 6, crimes so heinous they defied comprehension. In 2010, at age 23, he abducted and assaulted a pregnant woman in front of her 2-year-old son, earning a 6-year prison sentence. Shockingly, he was released early in November 2016, just 3 months before Reagan's murder. Goldsby's time in prison was far from rehabilitative. He committed over 52 infractions, including fighting, stealing, possessing contraband, and disobeying orders, requiring transfers to 5 different facilities. Upon release, he was enrolled in a re-entry program called Alvis, which provided him with a GPS ankle monitor to track his movements. However, the program's oversight was abysmal. Goldsby's parole officer failed to enforce compliance, and he committed at least 6 robberies while on parole, with no consequences. The exit program, which housed him in a temporary facility, required only that he be present from 10 p.m. to 6 a.m., leaving him free to roam during the day. GPS data from Goldsby's ankle monitor placed him near Bodega the night Reagan disappeared, and at the ATMs where she made withdrawals. CCTV footage from a nearby store showed him purchasing the red gas can found in her car. Most damningly, DNA on Reagan's body matched Goldsby's, linking him directly to the assault and murder. On February 11, 2017, 2 days after Reagan's body was found, SWAT teams surrounded Goldsby's housing facility and arrested him. During hours of interrogation, Goldsby initially denied any knowledge of Reagan or the crime, claiming he was nowhere near Bodega that night. When confronted with the DNA evidence, he shifted his story, admitting he targeted Reagan as she left work. He described overpowering her in the dark parking lot behind Bodega, forcing her into her car at gunpoint, and making her drive to multiple ATMs to withdraw cash. Goldsby claimed his intent was only to rob her. After getting the money, he said he drove her to Scioto Grove Metro Park, ordered her to turn around, and fled in her car, leaving her alive. Detectives knew this didn't add up. Reagan's body was found in the park with gunshot wounds. Pressing harder, they got Goldsby to change his story again. This time, he introduced a fictional accomplice named TJ, claiming TJ planned the robbery and forced him to assault Reagan under threat to his family. After the assault, Goldsby said TJ shot Reagan while he fled. Investigators saw through the lie TJ didn't exist. Goldsby's history of similar crimes suggested he acted alone. They played along, asking for details about TJ's supposed involvement, which led Goldsby to reveal where he discarded Reagan's clothes, phone, and shell casings from the murder weapon, all near the park. The real breakthrough came outside the interrogation room. Goldsby confessed to his girlfriend, the mother of his children, a close friend, that he alone had robbed, assaulted, and murdered Reagan. He admitted to shooting her because he feared she would report him, sending him back to prison. Reagan had begged for her life, saying she just wanted to live. But Goldsby chose to silence her over $60 in his own freedom. Goldsby's trial began on February 23, 2018, almost exactly a year after Reagan's murder. He faced charges of aggravated kidnapping, robbery, sexual assault, and aggravated murder, to which he pleaded not guilty. The prosecution presented a mountain of evidence: DNA on Reagan's body and in her car, GPS data tracking Goldsby's movements, CCTV footage of him buying the gas can, and his confessions to his girlfriend and friend. The ATM footage, though grainy, showed Reagan's distress, corroborating the coercion. The defense argued that Goldsby's actions weren't premeditated, claiming he panicked and killed Reagan to avoid detection. They leaned heavily on his alleged traumatic childhood, describing a life of neglect, physical abuse, and exposure to substance abuse. Goldsby claimed he was assaulted as a child, but his history of lying, evident in his shifting stories about Reagan's murder, made these claims questionable. Detectives found no corroborating evidence of his childhood abuse, and his inconsistent narratives undermined his credibility. The defense's argument did little to sway the jury. A traumatic upbringing, even if true, didn't justify the horrific crimes committed against Reagan and others. On March 13, 2018, the jury returned a unanimous verdict: guilty on all counts. Goldsby was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole, ensuring he would spend the rest of his days behind bars. Reagan's family channeled their grief into advocacy. They founded the Reagan Tokes Memorial Foundation, which provides scholarships to deserving students, offers free self-defense classes, and raises awareness about street safety, particularly for young women. On May 7, 2017, in a poignant ceremony at The Ohio State University, Lisa Tobey, Reagan Tokes, accepted Reagan's psychology degree on her behalf. The moment was bittersweet, a reminder of the milestone Reagan had worked so hard for but couldn't celebrate. Determined to prevent similar tragedies, the Tokes family worked with Ohio lawmakers to draft the Reagan Tokes Act. Introduced in the Ohio House and Senate in 2018, the act was signed into law by Governor John Kasich in December of that year. It mandates indeterminate sentencing for Class 1 and 2 felonies, such as murder, rape, and kidnapping, with a minimum and maximum term, ensuring violent offenders serve significant time. The act also requires stricter parole oversight, including mandatory GPS monitoring, regular check-ins with parole officers, and swift consequences for violations. Had these measures been in place, Goldsby's parole violations might have been addressed before he crossed paths with Reagan. The field in Scioto Grove Metro Park where Reagan's body was found was transformed into a rock garden memorial, a serene space filled with stones inscribed with messages of hope and remembrance. It serves as a sanctuary where visitors can honor Reagan's memory, without the pain of her final moments. Jake, her ex-boyfriend, launched a GoFundMe campaign that raised over $95,000 to fund scholarships for college students in Reagan's name, ensuring her passion for education lives on. Reagan Tokes was a bright, compassionate young woman whose life was cut short by a predator enabled by a broken system. Brian Goldsby's long history of violence and the failure of parole oversight allowed him to roam free, committing crimes that culminated in Reagan's murder. The Reagan Tokes Act is a powerful legacy, but it's a painful reminder that change often comes at too high a cost. We must demand better, safer streets, rigorous parole monitoring, and a justice system that prioritizes prevention over reaction. Thank you for joining us on the Crime Decoder. Subscribe to our channel for more chilling true crime stories that need your attention. Till then, stay vigilant, stay safe.